and welcome to Life with Jane. I thought I would today I'm just doing a quick supper dish for me which will last the next few days, so I thought I would show you what I'm doing as a way of using up some of the extra the 8p veg. Now I have just sautéed some onions, so 2 small onions, the leftover bits of spring onion and some garlic in a pan with a little bit of olive oil. So I've already done that. I can now turn the heat on again just for a minute. So let's just turn that on. I'm going to put the grill on because I need to have the grill on to finish this off. So I'm just turning the grill on. Here we go. And that can go on like that. So I'm just going to wait for that to just saute up a bit, and while I'm doing that I'm going to get my dish out from the cupboard. So what I tend to do is I will have a dish like this, one of my nice Port Merion ones, and I will then use that, and that has the whole of the dish. So these will just come up to the heat in a minute, which should be fine. Turn it up just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to add next is, these are some black beans. Now you could have some cooked mince. I just happen to like using the beans because these beans are 45p from Lidl. So, you know, they add a nice bit of protein. They're, let me just find the, here we go. Okay, these are the beans. So black beans in water. So they are, as I say, full of fibre and a nice way of just adding a bit of protein to a dish without adding the expense. But as I say, if you want to add mince, you can add mince, you know, beef mince, lamb mince, turkey mince, any mince you want. Obviously make sure that you cook it well. With the beans, you just really need to heat them through. So that's what I'm doing with the beans. Then what I've got is, so once that starts heating up a bit, let's make sure that that cooks through nicely. You want it so that it starts to sizzle through a bit. And then when we've got that on there, I've got some, while that is finishing, and again I've cooked all of these first. So in this pan we've got some carrots and some parsnips. Now you could have any veg you wanted. You could just have a bag of frozen mixed veg, but because these are my 8p veg, I've got those, so I'm just going to add those in as well. So we've now got a really good sort of base. I've got a couple of little bits in here, so let me just add those in like that. Okay, so that's those, and again I'm just going to literally mix those in. So as I say, this you could put you know, mashed potato on top of it or something like that and have it as a shepherd's pie, or you know, if you did it with mince, or as I say, even with the beans just add the flavour and the protein without adding the extra cost. So I diced the vegetables quite small, and then I boiled them for about 10 minutes, so till they went soft but not so they went mushy, because I wanted them to have a little bit of texture to them, so you have some texture to your dish. Okay, right, now we need to add some seasoning and stuff to this. However, I am going to add a jar of the tomato and basil. And this says tomato and basil for meatballs, but basically it's just a tomato and basil sauce. Let me see if I can open it, because I might have to. Oh yes, I could just about open this one, I think. Is it going to open? There we go. Sometimes I have to, if you find it difficult to open, if you pierce the top first with a knife or something, it'll get the button to come up and it's not quite so difficult. So this sauce, I'm literally just going to pour that in on top, and I'm going to add about that much water in there, because you want to be able to have. Okay, so I've added it that much water, you can see, probably up to about there. Then if you put the lid back on, give it a good shake, you get all of the little bits around the side, pour that in, and you can now see you've got a completely clear jar, so you're not wasting anything at all. And as I say, you know what I like about not wasting anything. So we're going to mix that in like this. And then I'm just going to let it come up to the boil and just simmer for a few minutes. So I'm just going to allow that to come up. Now you can add some more flavouring if you want to. I wouldn't add any extra salt or pepper or anything in there, but what I will add is sesame, not pepper. I do like, as you know, my garlic pepper, so I'm going to add just a little bit of that to it, because that'll add just a little bit of heat. So not too much, just a little sprinkling. And then I'm going to add just a few mixed herbs. So these are just the standard mixed herbs, and again, I hate these things because you can't get enough out as far as I'm concerned, so I just put about that teaspoon, half a teaspoon. As I say, I tend not to measure things, I just do it to taste. So I'm just mixing this in now, and you can see it's already starting to bubble, which is what we want. Just mix that all in together. Wait for that to come up to the boil again. Now you can put it in the oven, or you can just put it under the grill when we get to the putting the cheese on. If you're just putting it under the grill, then you would need to just cook this out for about 10 to 15 minutes. Now I'm not going to do that, because I'm going to do it, I will portion myself up something for tea, and then I will put it in the microwave to heat it up, so I don't need to do that. But you need to make sure, as I say, once it starts boiling, bubbling, can you see it's starting to bubble now? I know that that's cooked enough. Now the last thing I need to do is, I have already cooked and drained this, so this is some wholemeal pasta, and again it is whatever you want to taste. So I'm just going to add that straight in there like that, and as I say, it's already cooked, so cook your pasta how you would normally cook your pasta. I just boil mine for 10 to 15 minutes, and then you can just mix this in with the sauce. So you need to sort of turn it round so you've got sauce in there. And as you can see, it's a huge portion. Now you can have this if you want. If you're doing it just with the veg like this, you can have it as it is, or you could maybe put, you know, a piece of fish or a piece of meat on top of it. So you could put, you know, a piece of salmon. You could put a lamb chop, a pork chop, piece of steak, anything you want. You could cook and have this as a vegetable accompaniment, or you can have it as a main dish. It's entirely up to you. It's just something that I quite often do, as it goes a long way. What I do is I put it in this big dish, which I'm going to show you in a minute, and then I pop some cheese on, bang it under the grill, and then you've got an absolutely delicious dish. Now I'm just going to turn this off now, because I want to put it into my dish. I need to get a I need to get, because this is a non-stick, I have to make sure that I do it with a non-stick top. So I am just going to spoon this in, and I don't know whether you can, let's see if I can bring you up a bit on this, so we can go on this way. I've got my saucepans empty. I'm just going to see if I can bring you up. Can I bring you up that way a bit? Maybe. Hold on. Getting a bit. There we go. I can get it so I can get you in the middle one, can't I? Can I just about? Yes, I think I can. Okay, let me see if I can put you, whoops, see if I can put you there, which is in my centre. Almost. Bring that this way a bit, bring that this way. There we are, you can see most of that. Okay, so I'm just literally going to spoon this into my dish. And as I say, it's very cheap, easy, economical, tasty. Wholemeal pasta, black beans for fibre. So it's something that, as I say, you can have it as a side dish, you can have it as a main dish. It would certainly feed 4 people, probably feed more. If you were doing it as an accompaniment, it would probably feed 6, and then you'd have it, you know, as a side dish rather than a main dish. Right, I'm literally just going to see if I can pick this pan up. It's very, very heavy, so I'm not very good at picking it up. My hands aren't strong enough to pick it up, so let's just put this in. Like this. My hands are getting weaker and weaker. Right, let me just move this out of the way. Put that in the sink. Right, now I can bring this back down on here a bit so you can see it. Is that better? Let's bring you down a bit. There, whoops, squeak, squeak. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spread this across, make sure that I've got lots of pasta bits in, because sometimes when you're spooning it in you end up getting more. It's better. So I'm just going to slightly smooth it down a bit like that. That, and then I have got some grated cheese which I've just grated on there, so let me just take that out. There we go. So I've got about that much grated cheese. You don't need a huge amount, you just want some to just go across the top here. my grill has been on, so when we put this in, it'll literally only take a few minutes. Just pop that in. Like that. Okay, now I'm just going to put this straight in underneath on the grill, because the grill is lovely and hot, and that can stay in there for just about 5 minutes or so. Not very long at all, actually. I'm going to keep you like that because I don't want to switch it off and then turn it back on again, because literally it's already starting to bubble. Now what I could do is I could take you off of here, couldn't I? So excuse the bouncy bit, I'm taking you off the stand and my hand's probably going to go in the way, so just allow me to take you off of here without it being too, let me just put my hand over here for a second. Will that make any difference? Yes. So I'm just doing that so I can take you off and it's not too, right, let's bring you down on here. So I can take you in on here and you can see, can we go in onto the grill? Look at that. There we go. So you can see that bubbling away nicely now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that out in a minute, and you've got a really delicious supper time dish which has only taken a very short time to actually cook, but is really tasty as well. So let me just come up now. I've got to try and stand up now without being too jerky, which is not going to be the easiest of things because I'm not very good at standing up without being jerky. So that can now be turned off. So let me just turn that off and that off because it's already done. Let me just stick you back up on here now. As I say, rather than stopping, it's easier for me to just put you back up in here like that. Let's see if I can clip you back in. There we go. Okay, so 2 ticks and I will get it straight out of the oven. Now you've seen it cooking. And then we have a rather nice, let's bring that out. There we go. And that is our supper dish. And as I say, you know, I will have it over the next 3 or 4 nights. I might portion some of it and put it into the freezer, but it's a lovely, simple, easy dish. So I hope you enjoyed that. As always, please stay safe and well. Please be kind and look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye bye.